China, a nation with a 5,000-year-old civilization, stands as one of the most powerful countries in the world. It boasts the second-largest economy, unparalleled technological advancements, and a population of over 1.4 billion people. But what keeps such a strong and seemingly invincible country on edge? Despite its outward strength, China faces multiple fears both from external and internal threats that deeply impact its future. One of the most significant sources of fear is social instability. China has undergone tremendous changes in the last few decades, moving from a predominantly agrarian society to a global industrial powerhouse. While this transformation has lifted millions out of poverty, it has also created stark inequalities. The gap between the wealthy elite and the rural poor has widened, leading to unrest and dissatisfaction, particularly in rural areas where people often feel left behind. China's government, with its authoritarian rule, tightly controls the flow of information to avoid sparking any unrest. This is why censorship is so pervasive across social media, traditional media, and even day-to-day conversations. The Chinese Communist Party, CCP, fears the spread of dissent and any challenge to their authority that could lead to social movements akin to the Arab Spring or the fall of the Soviet Union. Keeping the people united and loyal to the party is essential for their survival, making censorship a primary tool to suppress discontent. This brings us to a real-life example, the 1989 Tiananmen Square massacre. While the tragic event is well known globally, inside China, it is a forbidden topic. The protest, which began as a call for political reforms and more freedoms, ended with the military opening fire on its own citizens. The fear that a similar movement could destabilize the nation keeps the government constantly on edge. They have since become masters of propaganda and internet surveillance, closely monitoring any discussion that could ignite similar unrest. Another key fear that plagues China is the threat of economic collapse. While China's economy is one of the fastest growing in the world, it is also vulnerable. The rapid growth has been built on manufacturing, exports, and massive infrastructure projects, leading to immense national debt. Furthermore, China's reliance on exports means that it is highly sensitive to global market conditions and trade policies, especially with the United States. The ongoing U.S.-China trade war exemplifies this. Tariffs, sanctions, and restrictions on key technologies like semiconductors have caused significant disruptions in China's economy. The Chinese government fears that continued economic conflict with major powers, particularly the U.S., could hinder its progress toward becoming the world's top economy. The country's aging population, which puts a strain on its social services and workforce, adds another layer of anxiety. An example of economic anxiety is the Evergrande crisis, a Chinese real estate giant that found itself on the brink of collapse in 2021. With hundreds of billions of dollars in debt, Evergrande's failure shook the entire economy. It exposed the risky borrowing practices within China's real estate sector, a pillar of its economy. The fear that more companies could follow in Evergrande's footsteps has led to heightened efforts by the government to regulate financial sectors more tightly. But these regulations may come too late, and a potential real estate bubble collapse looms on the horizon, casting uncertainty over the entire nation. On the geopolitical front, China's growing ambitions have also given rise to fears of international isolation. The country's assertiveness in the South China Sea, along with its increasingly aggressive stance on Taiwan, has sparked concerns across Asia and the West. Taiwan, an island nation that China considers its own, remains a flashpoint that could lead to international conflict. If China were to attempt to take Taiwan by force, the United States and other countries could intervene, potentially leading to military confrontation. This geopolitical tension is also intertwined with another major concern: technological dependency. While China has made significant strides in technology, particularly in AI and 5G, its dependency on foreign semiconductors, a key component in almost every modern electronic device, leaves it vulnerable. The U.S. and its allies have implemented sanctions that cut off China's access to advanced semiconductors, which has hampered the nation's tech growth. The Chinese government's fear of losing its technological edge is clear as it ramps up efforts to become self-reliant in critical technologies. Lastly, China faces the fear of environmental collapse. Decades of industrialization have left parts of China heavily polluted. Air quality in major cities like Beijing is often dangerous. Water sources are contaminated, and the effects of climate change are becoming increasingly apparent. With 1.4 billion people to feed, clothe, and house, managing natural resources is a matter of survival. The government's efforts to promote green technologies and combat pollution are extensive, but whether they will be enough to avert environmental disaster is still uncertain. All of these fears, social instability, economic collapse, geopolitical tensions, technological dependency, and environmental degradation form the underlying anxieties that haunt China. But these fears are not merely signs of weakness. They also show a nation grappling with its transformation and its desire to hold on to power in an ever-changing world. For China, the challenge is to manage these fears without letting them spiral into chaos. The real question is, can China successfully confront and overcome these fears? If history is any guide, the nation's resilience and adaptability may allow it to chart a path forward. But the road ahead will be fraught with challenges. Only time will tell whether China's fears will shape its future or if it will emerge stronger from them.